Mark Taylor. Mark, welcome back.
Thank you, brother, for having me, man.
All right. We covered a lot of ground in the first hour, and we would dig a little bit deeper in this hour. Mark, and I noticed in the cover of your book, it said that there is something coming next. Is there life beyond Trump?
You know, I think, I know there is, but I just, as far as details beyond Trump, I don't have, quite that far out. Some of these prophecies that I've written, like the energy prophecy, some of the stuff's going to be going on for years. Energy, the one that's called Energy, and I wrote that December 16, 2016. And, the Spirit of God says is energy. I'm releasing new energy. For this energy that I am releasing, I will make America and my Israel energy independent. For America and Israel will be the top energy producers in the world. This new energy and technology to capture it will spring forth from the depths as the volcano erupts from the depths. This is the sign that will be given. A massive volcanic eruption will signal that this is the time for America and Israel and the end of the energy corruption. OPEC, your evil regime will no longer be tolerated, for you will no longer be needed, for you refuse to listen to my words and have not heeded. For when that ring of fire blows its top, it will be a sign to you that you will lose your stock, and the covenant you have with that ring will be lost. The Spirit of God says, you countries that have dominated energy for decades to move your evil agenda are charged with this guilt. Your days are numbered, and you will say, look how fast this was built. My America, my Israel will be one, and because of this, you will be undone. Because of your rage and the money you made from those countries you manipulated and attacked from within, you will now have to turn to those countries for help on a whim. For your wells will go dry, and your finances too, for you will now be fed from the red, white, and blue. Now, this energy thing is going to be going on for years. And what God is saying in that is that energy is going to be springing forth. That's going to be one of the things for the economy. You know what I mean? Again, energy is going to be a big producer. And this is already coming to pass, by the way, that where it says in there about OPEC and the countries that have attacked countries using their oil money, through terrorism. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know this. After I'd written that, again, December 16, 2016, when the president went over for his first trip to Saudi Arabia, and they made this big arms deal. Nobody could figure out why were they making this big arms deal. And somebody sent me an email with a Fox News little clip on there. My mouth hit the floor when I saw it, when I listened to this. The reason they made the arms deal was for protection, number one, but number two, the reason they were doing it is because their wells are about to go dry in Saudi Arabia. And I was like, are you kidding me? I didn't expect it to happen that fast. And so their wells are going dry. So when their wells go dry, they're going to lose their finances. So they had to make this arms deal like right then. Well, you're going to see this happen throughout the Middle East. Their wells are going to start drying up. So, this is going to be going on for years. Some of these things are going to be going on for years. The Trump prophecy is still going to be playing out for years. The economy. I wrote another one, America, where it's going a little bit more detail as to, what's coming as far as, like the border and stuff like that. And there's a lot of good that's coming. And let me say something about the doom and gloomers. These doom and gloomers, they keep saying, they see some of these bad things like the tornadoes or the hurricanes, this, that, and the other, and or the fires out west. They're saying, see, we told you judgment's on America. Judgment's not on America. It's on the systems and its leadership, period. And we've always had fires, earthquakes, and hurricanes. Guess what, folks? We're still going to have them. There's nothing we can do about it. The Lord said we're going to have trials and tribulations, but these signs will be given, and the reason these signs are being given is because the earth is moaning and groaning for the sons and daughters, the army of God, to come forth. God's calling forth his army is what he's calling forth right now. So, but, these doom and gloomers, they see this stuff, and they say, see, we told you so, this, that, and the other, and again, it's because they're attached to that Satan's frequency, because that's all they can see. Now, here's what the Lord showed me. When you think about this, we were kind of in the fear when Obama was in office for 8 years. We were in chaos. The church was, the Christians were. We were in fear that America was going to go down the tubes, this, that, and the other. Now the shoe's on the other foot, because now that Donald Trump's in office, we see prosperity coming and changes coming. Now it's the other side, the liberals, who are in fear now. And that's why you're seeing them trying to get out of office. Now, here's what the Lord told me, and I'm going to say this twice because I want people to get this. He said, victory for the righteous is judgment on the wicked. Victory for the righteous is judgment on the wicked. So when you think about this, we are in victory right now with Donald Trump. What do you see happening going on in the streets? They're protesting. It's because it's judgment on the wicked, so to speak. It's not on America. But their perception is, the wicked's perception is that all this chaos is ensuing because they don't like Donald Trump. They don't like where they're going with this, that, and the other. So that's a lot of what you're seeing taking place right now.
This video belongs to lordsprophecy.com. Please visit our website for more update.
Who are in fear now. And that's why you're seeing them trying to get out of office. Now, here's what the Lord told me, and I'm going to say this twice because I want people to get this. He said, victory for the righteous is judgment on the wicked. Victory for the righteous is judgment on the wicked. So when you think about this, we are in victory right now with Donald Trump. What do you see happening going on in the streets? They're protesting. It's because it's judgment on the wicked, so to speak. It's not on America. But their perception is, the wicked's perception is that all this chaos is ensuing because they don't like Donald Trump. They don't like where they're going with this, that, and the other. So that's a lot of what you're seeing taking place right now.
Well, let me ask something on that. Now that, I mean, if that's it, I mean, we ought to be seeing Hillary Clinton being locked up. But yes. Originally, then, as we look at it, we had 16 candidates come against Trump, and every one of them ridiculed and derided Trump, and every one of them lost. And then when it came to Hillary Clinton, she had these massive coughing spells coming against Trump. Now I'm talking about she coming against Trump, and then she has these massive coughing spells, 5 minutes at a time, and then she faints, and then they throw her in the back of a van like a sack of potatoes. You got Megyn Kelly came after him, and she got kicked off of Fox, and now she's got the lowest rated daytime program. You got Lindsey Vaughn, the skier, said she's not going to represent Donald Trump, and then she breaks a leg. Is there? And then of course all the sexual accusations against Trump. But look what's happening. The entire industry of Hollywood is being outed with their sexual proclivities, and congressman after congressman, and it's like, but they came against Trump and said he's a womanizer, he's a misogynist, he says these terrible things about women, and every one of them that said that, it seemed like their crap's coming out of the closet. It seems that which is in secret is now being proclaimed on the housetops. Is it because they came against Trump?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. It's because he's God's anointed. The Bible says, do not touch my anointed, but especially my prophets. I believe Donald Trump is a type of political prophet. Now, people can disagree with me on that. That's fine. But he is anointed and appointed by God to be in that seat. Now, let's take Megyn Kelly, for instance, or these 16 candidates that came against him. Every time someone attacked him, they got kicked out of the race. Megyn Kelly, of all people, the very first, what was it that they were doing? The
debate.
Thank you, the debates, yes. The very first debate they have. She's up there. She's got a blanket across her. This is what you did not see on television. She's got a blanket across her lap and a bucket sitting next to her. Now, why was that? I heard this out of her own mouth in her own interview. Is because she got deathly ill that morning of the debate. Now, why was that? That was a warning shot from God. Don't touch my anointed. She came out there. She did it anyway. Megyn Kelly's life has never been the same since. She's gone from one job to the next. She got kicked out of Fox. I mean, and look at Fox, because it actually went higher up in Fox. What we found out, those orders came from higher up. Fox has been in chaos and disarray since then. Fox has never been the same. So God's very serious now when he says, do not touch my anointed. And again, anyone who goes after Trump is going to get hammered. Lindsey Vaughn, she busted her hind end. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, she went after Trump. Again, God's very serious. Don't touch my anointed, period.
I'll tell you what, I based on what I saw, I mean, people could say, and each step of the way, well, that's a coincidence. It's a coincidence, she lost her job at Fox. She got this lousy show now. It's a coincidence that Lindsey Graham went public after Trump, and she, fell on her ass. Right. And, it's a coincidence all these politicians try to get Trump to be arrested for or blocked from being even a candidate because of sexual innuendo. And so after so many times, you gotta say, wait a minute. So here's what I did. I put on my face recently when Trump got these 3 shoplifters from UCLA, got them from 10 years in a China dungeon somewhere. One of the kids' dad's named Lamar Ball. He doesn't want to thank Trump. He made this big deal how he's not going to thank Trump for doing that. And then it comes out later, actually, his son was ordered by UCLA to thank Trump. But anyway, so I put on my Facebook, Mark, that Lamar Ball's basketball shoes, his empire is going to crash and he's going to get deathly sick. I said that, tongue-in-cheek prophecy, so to speak, but I said that based on the historical evidence that people come against Trump, something's going to happen. And so I think later I'm going to see something happen.
Look at John McCain.
Yeah, he's in a hospital.
He's in a hospital. But who's been the biggest opponent for Donald Trump has been John McCain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's strange. You can say, but you can say coincidence for the first 5 times, but now we're talking about 20, 30 times. This has been coming up. People coming against Trump. One thing I found interesting though, talking about bringing America back, is that when Obama went to China, he had to get out of the Air Force One in the back of the plane, and they had no greeting, no red carpet. When Trump came, they rolled the red carpet out for him. Why is it? Is it because they recognize that this man had power that the previous president, being a wimpy guy in mom's jeans, didn't?
Right, absolutely. It's command presence is what, I guess it's a military term. It's command presence. When you know a true leader when you see one, you can sense it. And this is the thing about these past 5 presidents that we've had, is that these past five presidents, these guys weren't leaders. These guys were puppets. Mm-hmm. They were spokespersons is all they were. They were being told what to do, how to do it, and what to speak by a shadow government is what they were doing. Mm-hmm. This is another reason why they don't like Donald Trump and they want him out of there, is because this man is a true leader in its purest form. He's not being told what to do by a shadow government, mm-hmm. and they're not liking it. Mm-hmm. So again, these past 5 presidents, the Lord spoke to me not too long ago about these past 5 presidents. And, they just had this Hurricane Harvey relief effort thing out there with these 5 presidents. And these guys get up there and they start trashing Donald Trump. And had nothing to do whatsoever with relief efforts. These guys could care less about the people of Houston or Hurricane Harvey. That was a platform to stand up and say something against our president. Now, look at George Bush, 43. This guy, for 8 years, had an opportunity to say something about Obama, the most wicked president in the history of the United States. He says nothing. Now, all of a sudden, we get a true president, a true leader in there. He comes crawling out of his cave and starts running his mouth. So, again, but the Lord started telling me. He says, he started dealing with me about a week before that about these 5 presidents. And I started writing a prophetic word. I haven't finished it on these 5 presidents, but this part I will release. He says, 2 will be taken and 3 will be shaken. And what he means is that 2 of those presidents are about to be removed from the face of the earth. Now, not assassination. God's just going to remove them. But the other 3 will be shaken. Now, what I mean by shaken is that you're going to see Obama, I believe, go down. You're going to see him be held accountable. I think he may even go to prison for treason.
Wow.
I know for a fact Hillary Clinton is. And it will be a sign to the United States when she goes to jail that spirit called Jezebel over America has been locked up with the key thrown away. Mm. Now, As far as Bush goes, he will be shaken as well. Now, whether he gets charged with anything, I don't know. But I just know that the last 3 presidents will be shaken, period.
Well, I do know that George Bush and his daddy with the horribly bad teeth, that both voted for Hillary. So that just tells you right there that they're all in on it.
Well, he showed his true colors when he did that Hurricane Harvey relief effort thing out there. Well, because again, they're all part of the New World Order. People have to remember that they're part of that shadow government, the Illuminati, New World Order, whatever you want to call it. They're all part of the same team. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. They're all part of the kingdom of darkness. Well,
right there's another one in the list. Tricky Dick George Bush Senior. He says he said Donald Trump is a blowhard. Next thing you know, 5 women come out. Speaking of blowhards, 5 women come out of the woodwork accusing the guy rolling around in a wheelchair as being a freak.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, again, look. I wrote another one. I wrote. Time is up for those who are corrupt. I wrote it November 17th, 2015. I wrote this. And it says that all these congressmen all these congresswomen, I don't care where they're at the local, state, federal level, judges, we're all going to begin to be exposed and removed. All the corruption. Time is up for those who are corrupt. And so that was back in 2015 that I prophesied that. And a month before that, October 13th, 2015, I prophesied that the Clintons were going to go down. They were going to get exposed, and they were going to go down. This is before Donald Trump was ever in office, before the election. So I mean, God is saying right now, he's going to clean house. That's why you're going to see exposure after exposure after exposure. And then the Lord started dealing with me about a week before the election. He started dealing with me saying there's going to be military-style tribunals that are going to break out because this corruption goes so deep. The people don't understand that when they begin, what are we up to? Like 9,000 indictments, I think the last number I heard. I can't confirm that, but I think it was like the last number I heard. But 9,000 indictments. And there's no telling who's in these indictments. And so when they start rounding these people up, again, they're going to have military-style tribunals in order to handle the workload because and if it's a treasonous act and they're with the federal government, I believe that falls under a military-style tribunal. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. But the point being is that you will see these tribunals break out, and the Lord said they will make Nuremberg look like a cakewalk.
Wow. Well, okay, that's going to be exciting. All right, got a question from Paul from Texas. It says, Mark, did you see anything on North Korea with Trump?
I get that question a lot, and unfortunately, I don't have an answer to that one. God has not shown me anything on North Korea, and I hate to speculate anything on North Korea.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I think North Korea is scared as crap about Donald Trump. I'm sure they'd rather have Obama in there giving them billions of dollars to increase their nuclear capability. All right. Here's a question from Miss Freedom out of the live chat. Says, anything about advanced tech or medical cures being released by Trump? And here's something. Speaking about releasing, he released the JFK files. Hey, I'm waiting for him to release whether or not we went to the moon, but that's another subject. But maybe even something. What's going on down there at Area 51? You think Trump will go that deep and start releasing the secret hidden information of our government?
I honestly do. I believe that you're fixing to see cures, for medical conditions begin to come forth because you got big pharma out there wants everybody sick. Period. And so I think what you're going to see happen here now. Again, I don't know the timing of this. This could be in his second term that a lot of this stuff starts happening because right now the corruption is so deep that's taking priority over everything. We got to get these people out of the way first, and that's going to pave the way for all this stuff to come through. But you're going to see cures. We've had cures for this stuff, Daniel, for years, for decades, for cancer. We've got cures out there, I believe, for Alzheimer's, all kinds of diseases out there. Their cures are there, but they want the money coming in for research. Big Pharma doesn't want you being well; they want you sick. That's how they make their money. So, I mean, again, yes, I do believe that is going to be dealt with. You're going to see this stuff begin to be released. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, and here's a question. This is a kind of a routine question. It says, as your tenure as a firefighter, how many fires were you involved with?
Oh, man, I don't know the answer to. A bunch. I was in the ghettos in Orlando, and we turned 12,000 calls out of that one fire station alone a year. We had cutting, shooting, stabbings. I mean, you name it, we ran it. It wasn't just fires that we ran.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had tons. I don't know. I couldn't even begin to answer that question.
Okay. All right. Here's another question. Did God reveal to you, this is from Peter in Australia, did God reveal to you that Trump would serve 8 years and Hillary be put in jail?
Yes. Well, 4 years, I totally believe, I knew he was coming for the 4 years, and there was a time period, and let me back up a little bit. There was a time period because I wrote the Trump prophecy back in 2011. Once he announced, there was a time frame where I was sensing he was going to be a one-term president because he wanted to get America back on track, and then he would want to leave because of his business, basically. You know what I mean? Because of his empire. And then somewhere when he was running, it transitioned to where, no, this is no longer going to be the case. He's seeing just how bad this is now. He's getting an upfront look, some inside intel when he was running, I believe, and he's going to be in there for 8 years. So yes, God did say, he didn't specifically come down in a booming voice and tell me this, but I can tell you what I sense. He's going to be in there for 8 years because the economy is going to be so booming. Everything's going to be so big and so good for the United States at that point. Not saying we're not going to have issues along the way because we will, but at that point, what we dealt with for 8 years will be totally gone. So he would be in there, and he's going to sail right into a second term.
What do you think about Hillary Clinton wanting to have a voodoo doll of Donald Trump so she could poke it? Is she involved in black magic?
From what I understand, she's like this bigwig in the Illuminati, and she's an active witch. What she is, I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say this: right before the election, it was about 60 days before the election. My co-author, Mary Colbert, the Lord told her to hold a national prayer call, and so she had this national prayer call. It was free, and every day we had up to 10,000 people on the line at one time, and each day she had a different person leading the prayer for 15 minutes. That's all it was, 15 minutes. And so she had me on 9/11, right before the elections, and because she knew I was a firefighter, she wanted me to stand in for the first responders. Well, the Lord was dealing with me about target focused prayer, target focused repentance, because the people weren't repenting, and it was generalized repentance, like Lord, forgive me for my sins. That's not going to cut it. You got to get focused. In other words, think of your prayers and your repentance as a laser-guided bomb. You laser the target, and you hit the target. So you want to get very specific with your prayers and with your repentance. So I sat before the Lord because some of these people were coming on the line, and these are some big-name people. I mean, literally, because Mary knows all these big-name people. And they were just generalizing. And I'm like, the Lord was telling me, this is not cutting it. He says, I want you to sit down, and I want you to get target focused. So I sat down for 2 days and wrote out a prayer for 15-minute prayer, and that was on 9/11. One of the things that I prayed, because you got to remember the power of agreement. We had 10,000 people on the phone agreeing, and so one of the things I said, Lord, time is up for those who are corrupt. I started quoting that prophecy that I had written that the Lord gave me, and I said, those who are corrupt, remove them from office and replace them with people from your army. And so I went into all this. I repented first, and then I went into that. I hung up the phone at 9:17, Daniel, and somebody can fact check me on this. It was about 20 minutes later that Hillary Clinton collapsed for the entire world to see, and she lost her shoe. Now, it was prophetic on a couple of things. One, it was prophetic for the church. This is what happens when we come together in agreement, one mind, one heart, and one accord. That's the power behind it right there. We can take on any enemy, any foe, and bring them down, period. It was prophetic in another sense, is that everything behind the Clinton empire is going to collapse. And she lost her shoe, which means they will lose their peace. What have they done? They've been protesting in the streets. That she's lost her peace. So you're seeing that taking place right now. So am I saying that I'm responsible for collapsing? No, it was a team effort. That's what the army of God can do when we come together in one heart, one mind, and one accord. We're not always going to agree on everything. Let's just be honest. We're not. And we don't have to, but we can still come together for a common cause. And what is that cause? That is to take ground for the kingdom of God and hold it at all costs.
I always thought there was something prophetic about her losing that shoe. And the thing is, like I said, they threw her in a van like a sack of potatoes. But what was interesting, though, this is probably the first time anywhere that somebody of that high of a stature, I guess you could say, instead of being rushed to the hospital to the best doctors anywhere, they rush her to her daughter's apartment where they had a medical team up there. And then she comes out, she looks 20 pounds 20 pounds less, and all the wrinkles gone from her face. Some people say that she was cloned there, but maybe it's more perhaps that they took her up there and did some sort of incantation to revive her. What do you think?
That part I don't know. I just know she hit the ground, and it was 20 minutes after that prayer.
But didn't you find it odd that she wasn't taken to a hospital?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that tells me they already know what condition she has and are used to dealing with it. You know what I mean?
So I'm wondering then, you say that the power of prayer of the voices of the believers caused that manifestation in her life of sickness. Yes. Do you think that this is where her coughing spells come from? Because isn't there something in the Bible where somebody's voice, they lost their voice, they were speaking, they lost it, and God didn't want to hear from them?
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, it's prophetic again with her coughing like that. It's because she's choking on her own words.
Wow. All right, man. This is. Well, I'll tell you what. This is more positive. I'm almost seeing her in jail now. Man, first of all, it was a joke.
Yeah.
Now, hey, maybe it could be.
Yeah. Listen. And here's the other thing. Let's talk about the Supreme Court for a minute. Let's hit a hot button here, man.
Sure, why not?
As if we haven't hit the hot buttons before here.
Mm-hmm.
But so we got. The Lord started dealing with me about the Supreme Court, and I originally prophesied that there would be 3 Supreme Court justices that would be replaced.
Okay.
And the Lord started dealing with me on it. And he said, no, Mark. He said, now there's going to be 5. And I said, okay, Lord. And he said, one's going to die, one's going to retire, and 3 will be caught in a scandal and have to be removed.
Whoa.
And I said, okay, Lord. So I prophesied all this. Now, when it was about a month or 2 later, Scalia died, and I went to Mary. I said, Mary, did you hear what just happened? She's like, yeah. I said, man, I wasn't expecting him to be the one. And she said, well, Mark, the Lord told you it wasn't going to be who you expected. And I said, well, yeah. I said, so, and everybody was panicking. Remember, when he died, the entire country was in full-blown panic mode because they thought Obama was going to get his pick of a Supreme Court justice before he got out of office. Mm-hmm. At Scalia's funeral, the Lord gave 2 signs. And when I saw those 2 signs the Lord gave me at his funeral, he started downloading the word to me. So I wrote that word. And as it was "Do Not Fear America," I wrote it February 24th, 2016. And what the Lord was saying was, well, if you watch it on C-SPAN or one of those things on YouTube, when they were taking his casket at the bottom of the steps up to the courthouse, you hear a siren in the background. And as they get to the middle of the steps or the halfway point, it starts to dissipate. When they get to the top of the steps, you hear this booming train sound or train horn in the background.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And because there was a reverence there, it was very quiet. Everybody was quiet. It was reverence at the time. So I heard that, and I was ecstatic. I knew the Lord was talking to me right there. And what the Lord was saying was, "Do not fret. Help is on the way." The siren for the next judge that will be appointed has been reserved for my anointed, the Trump train, the train horn.
Whoa!
So sure enough, the day he got inaugurated, that part of the prophecy came to pass. Now, the Lord himself is going to reform the court. When you get 5 Supreme Court justices back in there, the Lord himself is going to take on that case called Roe versus Wade, and he is going to overturn it. Period.
Whoa, man, that is a hot button. Did you just say that?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Now, I woke up the other morning. I'm just going to throw this out there because it shocked me when I heard it. And sometimes, the Lord will speak to me in the twilight season when I'm falling asleep or when I'm waking up. And I woke up the other morning, and it never even dawned on me about all this. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. And all of a sudden, it's like the Lord was saying, what if these 3 Supreme Court justices that are going to be removed are part of these indictments? Wow. And I went, whoa. Now, I don't know that to be the fact. I'm not prophesying that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying it was like, Lord, it was almost like the Lord was posing a question to me, which is kind of different, to be honest with you. And I kind of had I'm like, it shocked me. And I'm like, wow. I mean, can you imagine, just put the 9,000 indictments aside for a minute. Can you imagine at any time that if they arrested 3 Supreme Court justices, what would happen? I mean, there would be chaos.
Well, yeah.
Literally. I mean, and so, I mean, again, I'm not saying they're part of the indictments, but there's some type of a scandal that these guys are going to be caught up in, and I believe that they're going to have to be removed.
Well, see, that's interesting, too, because 35 states tried to put in their constitution that marriage was defined as one man and one woman, but a bunch of lousy 7 justices, they reversed that and reversed the will of the people on there. And who knows, maybe we'll get the will of the people coming back. Here's a question from Phil in North Carolina. Now, this sounds like an internet rumor, but I'm going to go ahead and read it anyway. He says, Mark, is there any truth to McCain and Clinton wearing ankle bracelets because they're actually under house arrest?
I have heard that too. I cannot confirm that. I do not know.
Okay, and the other part of this, and I have seen this on the internet, and it doesn't look like Photoshop to me, but there must be 5 pictures of one of Hillary and McCain. There's several people that are all wearing a boot. Have you seen that?
I have seen it. With the technology we have, it's hard to vet anything right now, man, with the technology we have, Photoshop, whatever. Right. And I have seen that, yes. And it is pretty intriguing. It would not surprise me.
Well, now there have been some false prophecies out there. I remember, particularly in say the alternative right, maybe even in the Christian world, and Bill Clinton was going to be the last president, and then Bush is going to be last president, and then Obama's going to be the last president,
and now we got the last Trump.
Yeah. So and the last Trump. Hey.
Yeah. I got news for you. This is not going to be the last Trump, folks. I believe you may see another Trump in the White House.
And let me ask you something. Do you think you mentioned in the first hour, Mark Taylor, about if you want to be cheered up, get on Trump's Twitter feed, and I am on that, and I have laughed hysterically. I don't know how many times reading that, because it's like, he's what he does. I don't know if you heard it, but this is my own kind of made up thing. I haven't really heard anybody say it. He dangles a shiny object out there, and everybody goes running after it, think they get him, and he hooks them.
They take the bait every time.
Yeah, he does. It's like a little shiny. He just dangles it in front of him. It's like we finally got him. We finally got him when he said McCain wasn't a war hero. We finally got him when he said McCain's got blood coming out. We finally got him here. And every time they don't finally got him. And he wins the argument. But let me ask you something. That being the case, do you think he has the sense of divine protection, and therefore he could care less about what he tweets?
Absolutely. Mary, my co-author, she sits on his spiritual advisory board. And, one of the things is that they're doing Bible studies in the White House now. And, I mean, he came out for the spiritual advisory board, and he told them, he said, I want to go down in history, or I want my legacy to be known as the most praying president in American history. Now, when is the last time we've ever heard? I don't think we've ever heard that before, have we?
No,
not that I know of. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, again, we have a true leader in the White House right now, Donald Trump, who is a man of God. And people say, and I get this all the time thrown at me, oh my gosh, he calls people names. How can you say he's a Christian? This, that, and the other. And they want to blame it on the fact he's a baby Christian. Mm-hmm. Folks, read your Bibles. I mean, Jesus himself called people names. He called them hypocrites. He called them a brood of vipers. Mm-hmm. He called them all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, again, just because the man's calling somebody names doesn't mean he's not a Christian. Mm-hmm. So, well,
I like the one that says when people are being called Grecian slow bellies. I really like that, because that, to me, slow bellies reminds me of a Democrat anyway.
Yeah.
But So this thing about the sensitivities of Christians. I'll tell you what. I've let loose of a few choice words here or there, but you know what? It's time for Christians to stop cowering in a corner and trying to be all pious and righteous, and get out there and start fighting. And sometimes when they say that there's a study released that says if you cuss during an activity, you do it better. So, I'm not saying that cussing is the way to go. And certainly there's things about language that need to be put in check. But we, as a group, and let me ask you, did I hear Trump once say that he said, like, the Democrats or the Muslims have a group, the gay lobby has a group, everybody has a group, or a lobby except for Christians. And did he say something like that?
Yeah,
and why did he say, to pose a question? Why don't they get together?
Right, and see, that was the thing with the 501c3. He was trying to do away that they call the Johnson Amendment, and it's because the church.
Hello, Mark.
Why aren't you guys getting together? Why aren't you using your voice? The day you guys ever get your act together, this stuff will change. And he's right. Because, again, the church is the spiritual moral compass of any nation. We're the reason that the country's in the condition that it's in, because they haven't done their job, period. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me. So he says, then all of a sudden he stopped and he went, I know what's going on. It's that 501c3. So I had prophesied that literally 2 months before he said that. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether he read my prophecy, he found it on my website. I have no clue. I can't confirm. I have no clue. But literally, it was like 60 days after I prophesied that and wrote it down, and I had it on my website. Mm-hmm. Boom. He says, I know what the problem is. It's that 501c3. Oh. He says, you guys are afraid to speak because of that 501c3.
Well, we've had several proclaimed Christians in the White House. Jimmy Carter comes to mind. Yeah. But Jimmy Carter and even George Bush, they show him, going to church, whatever. But these guys never ever tried to get the Johnson Johnson Amendment reversed, where you can't talk about politics in a church. They never tried to get that changed. And I saw a video the other day where Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Obama all said they were going to move Jerusalem move the embassy to Jerusalem, but only Trump's going to do it. And these previous ones all said they were Christians and they didn't do what they said they were going to do.
Right. Let me tell you something. You cannot, and I'm gonna blow some skirts up here again. I don't care. You cannot call yourself a Christian and stand for the New World Order. You cannot call yourself a Christian and forward the kingdom of darkness's agenda. God he is separating the wheat from the chaff right now. He is saying you're either with me or you're against me. Period. There's no in between. There's no gray area here. You can't ride the fence. So you cannot be a part of that and call yourself a Christian. This is where people have a hard time sometimes saying, okay, can a Democrat be a Christian? Because that's a hot button right there, man. Look out. Because, well, you got to ask yourself this. What does the Democratic Party stand for? They're pro-choice. So, I mean, they're for the murdering of unborn kids. So, I mean, again, you are the one that has to determine that. But you cannot further the kingdom of darkness's agenda and call yourself a Christian. Well,
now that kind of goes a little bit back to the Alabama election there, and I don't see there are conspiracy theories coming up. There always is, but I'm sure that the religious folks down there said, I cannot in good conscience vote for somebody that. I guess they've already assumed he's guilty for some reason or other. The guilt is already assumed. It used to be that guilty. Innocent until proven guilty, but unless you're sort of a Republican, you're automatically guilty. But they can say that that he may have done something that somebody accused him of, or they can vote for somebody who actually will vote to kill babies. So I don't know which one. Where's the equivocation there? That really had to be balanced, and I don't think it was balanced in the right direction.
No, it wasn't. And the other thing, too, is we got to remember, and that brings me back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. I wanted to bring up about this paper ballot thing. And, what the Lord was showing me is that a lot of these people who are in office right now, these blue states and these blue zones that we have on the electoral college map, most of these places we don't have as many blue states and blue zones as we think we do. And what the Lord was showing me is that these people are not even supposed to be in office. The reason people like McCain are in office is because the office was stolen. Obama never was voted into office on the second term.
Wow.
The office was stolen, period. If they ever went back and did an investigation, they'd find out that office was stolen. So a lot of these people are not even supposed to be where they're at right now. Most of these congressmen, the senators in the House, the Senate and the House, it doesn't matter if it's state, local, or federal levels, these judges, some of these people are not supposed to be there. So we don't have as many blue states and blue zones as we think we do because they are manipulating the electoral process. Now, we have got to go back to paper ballots. Let me use this example real quick because I know we're running short on time here, I guess. But Larry Nichols, I've been in contact with Larry Nichols a couple times on the phone. He used to be a Clinton insider. Now he's a Christian, been Christian for years, and he's going after the Clintons trying to take him down. He found out through the grapevine or through the inside intel that 4 states had been basically swung for Hillary. They stole the states. This is before the election. He found out they already had them rigged for Hillary. Wow. So she did not even go to those states, from what I can remember. So all of a sudden, he takes his spiritual advisory team and they go on a blitz campaign, telling them don't vote by computer, vote by paper ballot. When they did that, those 4 states got swung for Trump. Now, what 4 states were those? The 4 states that Jill Stein called for a recount on. Remember when she called for the recount?
Yep.
Nobody can figure out why in the world is this lady calling for a recount for some of these states like Wisconsin or what was it, Michigan or whatever it was. Some of these states, they weren't really big electoral college votes, but those numbers started adding up. So they couldn't figure it out. That's why. Is because they knew they had those locked up for Hillary Clinton, and they could not figure out how they lost. And it was because of Larry Nichols and his team went in there and said, vote by paper ballot, not by machine. You got to remember, George Soros owns most of the voting software for these machines. If we don't get a hold of this before midterms, we could be in some trouble. We've got to start praying about the electoral, the election fraud, voter fraud, and we got to go back to paper ballots. Is what we got to do in order to beat this.
Well, I do know that, of course, all dead people vote for Democrats, and I did hear. And, that's a major constituency there, Mark. And but I've also heard that in the last month, 5,000 to 10,000 felons got registered to vote in Alabama there, and so there you go on that there. But when coming back to Trump, there's a scripture that says they're talking about the disciples, and they said, "Are these not?" I don't know if it said stinky, but it said unlearned men, yet we perceive. They have been with Jesus. And so it seems, when you're looking at Trump, it's difficult to say what it is, but it seems there is something around him that is divinely protecting him. I mentioned many times on this program about a book called, I finally got the cover and I'll put it up there, but it was called The Providential Life of George Washington. And, it says that there were so many events that supernaturally protected him. So I really can't say what it is about Trump or around Trump, but it does seem that there is this sort of protection that he has.
Absolutely. And I go back to the Trump prophecy where it says, that he is anointed by God. God's going to protect his anointed, period. And the prophecy says that they will say things about this man, the enemy, but will not affect him. They'll say it rolls off him like the duck. As the feathers of a duck protect it, so shall my feathers protect this next president, period. So the Lord's already telling us right there in the prophetic word that God himself is protecting this next president, which is President Trump.
Interesting you say that, because last year, what you just said there, I was familiar with that. And my wife and I went to a Trump rally at the Coliseum in Indiana, and we looked up, and there was a duck in the rafters, and we thought of what you just said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were thinking, what is that duck doing up there? And then we remember, wait a minute. So we took that as a sign. You talking earlier in the first hour about.
I was just going to say, hang on a minute. Was God speaking to you just then? That duck didn't whiff a prophet or didn't quack a prophecy, but God spoke to you through that duck, didn't he?
Well, yeah, we certainly got our attention, and so
that's one of the many ways we hear the voice of God right there.
Wow, yeah, I'm kind of liking this, man. This is kind of a spirituality that I like.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, he didn't quack a prophecy, but again, it took your mind back to what we were talking about here. So God spoke to you saying, hey, I've got this man protected, because as the feathers of this duck protect it, I'm going to protect this man. Yeah,
there was absolutely no reason for a duck to be up there. I don't know. So I've got to pay more attention, Mark. This program got me. I'm going to be looking at a lot of things different, because a lot of times my wife and I call them synchronicities. Things that, and I don't know how you go with that, but, little signposts that kind of guide you, that maybe that there's larger things going on than just the mundane travels of your life.
Right. There's no coincidences in the kingdom of God. Remember that. There's no coincidences in the kingdom of God. If something's happening in front of you, pay attention. There's a reason why. God's speaking. He's speaking all the time. It's Job 33. It's because we live this fast-paced lifestyle. We can't get off them phones. It's because he's got to knock us out in the middle of the night and give us a dream.
All right, we got a couple more quick questions as we come toward the end of it. This one's another, sort of sounds like conspiracy or a type of thing. It says, did you hear about Marines landing at Andrews Air Force Base to take over the CIA because people were trying to kill Trump?
No, I did hear of them landing there, but I heard it was to confiscate some stuff that they had there because there's a coup and a counter coup going on right now. And so I think some of that had to do with that. Yes, I did hear about that.
Okay. Then did you hear this is from James Emery, the YouTube chat. Did you hear the USS Ford warship launched today?
No, I did not hear that.
Now that bad boy is supposed to be the flagship of the United States Navy, isn't it?
I believe so.
I think it's got all the tech in there, man.
Yeah.
All right. And then here's another question. What is your feeling about Rat-faced McConnell, and when do you think his demise will come?
Again, we have to ask ourselves, who is in these 9,000 indictments that we're up to right now? I think. Look, I'm going to say this. This is going to be, I think, one of the biggest turnovers in American history in the midterms. If we can get the voter fraud taken care of and go to paper ballot or fix the system where it can't be hacked, I think you're going to see the largest turnover in American history, because when they serve these indictments, it's going to empty out places. You got to think about that. It's going to empty out Congress. you've got people that are resigning now. You've got people that are saying they're not going to run again. So why is that? It's because they know the hammer's fixing to drop. And it's because, so I think, again, when these indictments get handed out, it may take down parts of government even. And he may have to operate with a skeleton crew on parts of government until they replace them in order to clean out the deep state, drain the swamp, so to speak.
All right. Here's another question. It says, did God reveal to you anything about a crackdown on human trafficking and in particular child trafficking?
Not in particular. I think it all goes along, though, with the pedophilia, the child sacrifice, child trafficking, whatever the case may be. It all falls under that prophecy I wrote, time is up for those who are corrupt. So any leader that's involved in that mess, they're going to be brought to justice, period. They're going to be exposed, and they're going to be brought to justice. Okay. God is pouring out divine justice on the earth right now, period.
Okay. Question come in. What do you think about, or when do you think George Soros will be arrested?
That I don't know. I'm hoping soon. It can't happen soon enough as far as I'm concerned. See, I don't want this guy to be assassinated because his money's going to continue on. What I want to see happen, and I'm praying for, is that this guy gets arrested, they seize his money and seize his assets. Because if it's like, Trump was saying with ISIS, you take the oil, you take their money, they can't buy any weapons. It's the same way with George Soros. If you seize his assets and seize his money, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, all these groups blow up and dry away. The Clintons will blow up and dry away. Obama's shadow government will blow up and dry away. Why? Because they don't have any money. It's gone, period. So that's what I want to see. And if you want to build the border wall, there's your money.
So we're talking in the first hour about you laid at the feet of the church as to why we have abortion in this country. And I would dare say also why we have gay marriage in this country. But if the churches weren't praying for direction on where to have the next bean supper, then are you suggesting they should pray that the conspirators that have taken over government be revealed? Is a type of prayer that they should pray instead of that?
Yes. I encourage anyone to go to my website. It's swordrescue.com, and sword is spelled SORD rescue, swordrescue.com. Click on the prophetic words tab. Print those prophetic words off. They're for free. Anybody can print them off. You can print them off for free. Use those as your target-focused prayers and pray those prophetic words. Those are your prayers right there. God's showing you from start to finish where we're going and everywhere in between. So use those. Lay them out. It's a blueprint, basically. And use those as your target-focused prayers. But absolutely, time is up for those who are corrupt. Ask God to remove those who are corrupt and replace them with people from God's army. And that's the other thing. There's going to be a lot of vacancies coming up in Washington, D.C. And, if they're an underwear salesman, they're going to be making a lot of money right now in Washington, D.C., let me tell you, because I'm telling you, these guys are scared up there right now. So, there's going to be a lot of vacancies. So if you are called to be a senator, a congressman or woman, a judge, and you're part of the army of God, you need to get ready to take your place. I don't care if it's at the local, state, or federal level, because God is looking for people to replace these people with, his people.
Wow. Speaking of getting scared, it seems that Paul Ryan, otherwise known as Eddie Munster, there's some things about him retiring. Of course, he says no, but he seems like he's in the swamp too. Is he? You think he might be having one of these indictments?
I don't know. I know that there's just going to be a ton of them. I think you're not even going to know what's going to happen. I think you're going to wake up one morning and they're already going to be running these people up. You're just going to see it on the news at that point. It's
interesting. We were talking about how your message is diametrically opposed to most of what's out there in the Christian world. Now, we had a guest on a program named Doug Woodward one time, and he flat out said, he wrote a new book, and he said, when I put a book out that has sort of a doom in it, the sales skyrocket. And when I put out a positive message, it doesn't. He said, I can tell you flat out, that works. He was almost like repenting about it. So I know how it works, and this is how it works. And so, your message really is so different than that. Do you take a lot of flack from inside the Christian world because of your positive message? Oh, yeah. Believe me, I've been called every name in the book. That Pharisee and religious legalistic spirits are strong, bro. They are just hammering me. It's bad enough I got the mainstream media all over me, much less my own people who call themselves Christians hammering me. And it's like, look, nobody said these bad things weren't going to happen, like the shootings and the fires and earthquakes and hurricanes. We're always going to have that stuff, period.
that doesn't mean that judgment's here. You know, it may be a type of judgment for some people, but God's going to take care of his people, period. So it's the systems and the leadership that are under judgment right now.
Okay. Hey, in the first hour you were talking about, are you working on another project, a follow-up book to the Trump prophecies?
No, I do have another huge project that we are working on, but I can't go public with it right now, unfortunately, but people will know when it comes out sometime next year. But I don't have another book right now, no.
Okay. All right. So the Trump prophecies, and as I was reading it, I was really amazed with the book. And I'm going to hold it up right here. And I got it on our side shot there too. I just thought how accurate it was compared to the events happening today, what you originally got. And it's interesting. You said that you thought it was going to be 2012, and then you thought, well, crap, it wasn't anything. And then, but you didn't throw it away. You put it aside. How come?
You know, I thought originally it was supposed to be 2012, but you got to remember I was sick at the time, so all my friends abandoned me. I was in isolation for almost 10 years, literally 10 years, and before I wrote that, or before all this went public, and so I had put it aside because I thought it was originally supposed to be 2012. But I wrote the Trump prophecy, and then about a month or two later, I wrote one. Let's see, it was April 28, 2011. I wrote the Trump prophecy, and then I wrote another one on July 24th, 2011, called The Great Horse, that there was another Triple Crown winner coming. I put that aside. I thought all that was supposed to be for 2012. And in that time, I had another one called the D-Day speech, General Eisenhower's D-Day speech. The Lord had me go back, and he says, I want you to rewrite it and address it to my army. So I put all that aside. So I didn't know when the Lord was going to want me to release it, but I originally thought it was for 2012. Fast forward 2015. 2015 comes along, and I'm watching the Triple Crown races each year. In 2012, the Triple Crown almost was won. The first two races was won. It was I'll have another. And the Lord says, go back and research that horse. And I went back and researched that horse, and he said, it was I'll have another. And I thought it meant I'll have another drink. He said, no, I'll have another horse coming. He said, because fast forward 2015, and he says, I want you or June 6, 2015, we get a Triple Crown winner. And I'm thinking, man, where's that prophecy I wrote called The Great Horse? I pulled it out, and there it was. And I'm on the phone with my sister, and she says, what is today? I said, it's D-Day. And I heard the Lord say, release the speech. So I pulled the speech out. Well, there was two things in that same day. And it was 10 days later, was it June 15th or 16th, Donald Trump announces he's running for president. All these things came together in like a 10-day period, these three things. And I was like, Lord, I said, what happened? I said, I thought I missed all this. He says, no, Mark. He says, all of this was supposed to happen in 2012. He said, but my people were not ready. He says, I held it off. They needed another 4 years of Obama in order to build a righteous anger to say enough is enough. And that's what we saw happen November 8th, is when the people rose up and said enough is enough.
Wow. Yeah, I tell you what, I had righteous anger the very minute he got in the office. So I guess I wasn't among that group. Listen, Mark, we're right at the end of the broadcast. Tell the folks how they can get the Trump Prophecies book.
They can go to Amazon and pick it up there, or they can go to Barnes & Noble and pick it up there as well.
Well, I really appreciate you being on the broadcast, Mark. Can we have you on the show again when you get this other project going, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, man. And thank you for having me tonight. It was an honor and a pleasure to be here.